Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Hi everybody, welcome to a recommendation video, but also it's going to end up being a roundup of Jen's 6-star books. There is only actually one book on this list that isn't a 6-star read because we're going to be going over my essential books, my essential reads, books that I would, if I could, save from a fire in my house, though I wouldn't save books. Books are replaceable. Although me without some of my favorite books, what do I have to live for? No, I'm just kidding. That is not true. I don't think that. But I had someone ask me to share my essential reads. Now, I chose that to mean like if I had to get rid of all the books in my library, which ones would I make room for, right? Like which ones would I carry on my back if I had to, if I couldn't just have a Kindle or whatever. And that led me down to these 10. And of course, I didn't let myself overthink it when I wrote this list. I wrote it in about 3 minutes, just off the top of my head, like 10 books that I think would cover pretty much every mood that I have and are also my favorites of that. So this is by no means extensive. The point is that it's essential, the barest of bare bones. And that means it's going to be like 6-star reads for me. So, if you're newer to the channel and maybe some of these I haven't talked about recently because they were talked about ad nauseum in previous years because they were favorite reads from then. Those of you who are longtime viewers, I'm sure you could close your eyes and list half of these without even seeing it. But I'm going to go through them. This isn't going to be a deep dive into the books. I actually have limited time to film this video today. I know I've said that before, but it's true. I have a hard stop in about 25 minutes from now. So I need to get this filmed, and I think that's going to be good because it'll force me to just give a couple minutes to each of these. So I'll have links to all of them down below, which means, you can cheat and you can go look there. But these are books that, irrespective of, how my faves have changed or evolved, like these are the books that I'm ride or die for, that I just have to have on my shelf. So let's go ahead and get through these because, as I said, I don't have a ton of time, and we'll go through here. So of course, number one, again, let's all say it with me now. What is Jen's favorite book of all time? It has my book husband. It will be enshrined in my heart forever. Outlander. Yes. Yes, this is the answer to me. This is one of the greatest love stories ever told. Even though each book individually of themselves in the series may not be a romance, it is a core romance and love story that draws this whole story together and makes it happen. These two people meeting in a clandestine way through time, they are the reason that this story exists. And therefore, to me, this is a long love letter to Jamie and Claire. I love this. There is adventure, there's love, there's time travel, there is romance, there is heartbreak. It just has everything. And I could reread Outlander again and again. Now, granted, I would want all of them, but these are chunky as it is. I can't carry all 9 of the books with me everywhere. But to me, this is a series that I just can't live without it. Absolutely essential. If I could only get people to read like one book or one series in my whole existence, it would be Outlander, because to me, this series enriches and improves upon every reread. So, gotta have it. I'm just grabbing these from the stack now. We're no longer in particular order, but that one is number 1, okay? If I had to get rid of all of these ones down to 1, it would be that. Next up, The Madness of Lord Ian McKenzie. This book absolutely breaks me and chops me up into tiny pieces and rearranges me into something relatively human. I adore Ian McKenzie and I adore his whole family. I recently just reread book 4 that I annotated for someone, and I just had such a good time with that one as well. I really love all of these characters so much, but Ian McKenzie is just that character that he's so different, and granted, there are like neurodiversity there. He is that way, but just the things about him that are like essential and like his relationship with his brothers and his relationship with Beth, and eventually how he is with his children. Like, oh, there's a scene in book 4 where, like, when he's holding one of his children, he's able to, like, it's the only time he truly, like, relaxes, is like when he's with his wife or when he's with his children. And the way that his whole body is just like, his entire being gravitates around those that he loves. And it's because Ian doesn't put on any pretenses, right? Like, there's nothing in his mind that's more important than what his goals are. And love truly, like, unlocks that for him. And I love it. Okay, I love Ian McKenzie. If you can't tell, I'm big on the Scottish side of things, okay? Continuing on, just grabbing these off the stack. We have P.S. You're Intolerable. I have read this book now probably 5 to 6 times all the way through. I've annotated it 2 or 3 times that amount for people because this was a favorite book in 2023 at this point. Yeah, in 2023 at this point. And so I have annotated it for people so many times. But I absolutely adore this love story. Again, we're not doing full recaps of these books just for the nature of this video. But this one is a office romance, and those, I mean, I'm not someone who dislikes office romance. I know some people don't like a power dynamic, but I love a power dynamic, so that doesn't bother me. But it does, it is an assistant and a boss. And again, I don't have a problem with those books, but they aren't usually ones that are like the greatest book I've ever read, you know, like they're ones that are fun. It's a contemporary, usually it's a bit forbidden. This goes so beyond that, in the case that this romance never feels forbidden because of the way Elliot acts and the way that he respects her. This isn't some salacious office affair. Every step that this man takes is very deliberate and well thought out. Once he realizes he's fallen in love with his assistant, and the steps he goes to protect her reputation and also to make her understand that, like, he would not want to coerce her or have a dynamic over her in any way, but he also doesn't want to, like, you know, remove her from his company just so that he can have her. You know what I mean? Like, every step he takes is so intentional, and I love it. And then we add in the fact that when Catherine becomes his assistant, she is pregnant. Now, he doesn't know that at the beginning because it's none of his business. But once he discovers that she's pregnant, he does get a little bit panicky in his way, not because, you know, she shouldn't have a baby and live her life, but she's essential to him, you know? And so he does panic a little bit that she's going to be on maternity leave and he won't have her in his, you know, vicinity. And he doesn't always say the clearest things. I wouldn't say that Elliot is completely neurodivergent at all, but he definitely thinks differently than some of us. And so he definitely puts his foot in his mouth, and it makes him seem a bit cold and a bit calculating because he's very blunt. But when Catherine is on maternity leave and he really starts to, like, lose it a little bit, he, you know, is just waiting for her to get back. He's like, take your time with your baby, but, like, I want you back. I want you back. And when he goes to visit her and realizes that she is living in not a super safe situation for her and the baby, this man immediately is like, no, that is not acceptable to me that you would be in this situation. Let me help you. And he does it by offering her such dignity, and it is just beautiful. And in fact, later on in the timeline of these two, when we will, because wow, the way he loves her daughter, the way he treats her, like, it's all beautiful. But later on in their timeline, which we see them in By the Letter, which is in another series, but, like, all the same people are involved, there's actually a nonprofit that Catherine has started that is called Building Dignity, where her being married to a billionaire, she now uses some of that capital and starts this nonprofit to help give single moms and low-income families homes. And seeing that, like, arc for them later on is just really beautiful, because one of the things I love is that he does step in and play a Prince Charming, but he never wants her to feel that, like, she owes him everything. Because of that, he wants it to be very clear that, yes, like, I do have the money to do that, but he's like, but the money means nothing to me if you don't feel like you have autonomy, if you don't feel like you have the space to do what you want. And there is something very philanthropic and selfless about that, because some billionaires, we even like it sometimes when they're possessive and use their money to spoil the person and do that. But he's very clear about how yes, he has money and he will use that money however she would want him to, but he's not buying her. He's just using his money as a tool to make her life better. And that is just, that'll just melt your panties right off right there. Okay, let's just say it, okay? She's also plus size, tattooed, and gorgeous as hell, and Elliot is obsessed with her. And we love to see it, okay? We love to see it. So I gotta keep moving. I talked about that one too much, but when I read By the Letter, and that one is Catherine is actually pregnant with another baby in that one, and her friend is pregnant, and we hear about the nonprofit that she's running, I burst into tears because the fact that they're doing that for other people now is really beautiful. So, all right, we got to throw up A Sea of Ruin. This is one of the newest copies that I received. I think this makes it 6 or 7 copies of Sea of Ruin I have. So you can tell it is very essential to me. This one, I love the compass on here. Let's show you some art in here. We have Priest and Bennett, and we have Ashley and Bennett. Look at them. They're looking sexy AF. Look at them together here. This is a dark historical romance. It's not a fantasy, it is historical, but it is also a dark romance. It becomes an MMF eventually, so just know that's happening. But this couple, or throuple, is quite feisty, quite intense for sure. And I still remember the first time I read this, and I was just absolutely shook by the type of story this was. But yeah, this is a pirate romance. This is Bennett Sharp, who's a female pirate, and she is married in the beginning, but she's estranged from her husband. He's trying to win her back. She wants nothing to do with him because she feels betrayed by him. And then she gets kidnapped by a pirate hunter, Ashley Bennett, who is going to bring her back to England to suffer the consequences of her actions. And she makes him fall in love with her so that he won't turn her over. But things get more complicated than that along the way, and then her husband shows back up, and then we discover how this ends up being a throuple, which I won't spoil for you, but it's amazing, and there's a reason why this is an essential read, not only for me, but for many people. I also feel like it's an essential read in dark romance and in just very complicated relationships. Like, truly, Pam Godwin does it like no one else truly does. The quote that is most known, it is on every copy of Sea of Ruin that you'll see, says, "Love isn't a decision. It arrives unannounced, breeds madness, and then leaves a sea of ruin in its wake." That's the quote, everybody. Everybody uses it because it's that good, okay? All right, moving along, let's pick up. Here we go. We have the Takeover. Yes, this is another one I have annotated so many times. And I have so many highlights in this one that I love when people pick it, but it's also a pain in my ass because I have so much to say about this book that I did it to myself, okay? That is the trick I tell you about someone who's been annotating books now for almost 4 years, both for myself and for, you know, I do this as like a side like fundraiser, as well as on my Patreon, I annotate books for people. And one of the things you learn very quickly is be careful about how much you have to say, because whatever it is that I have said, I will repeat it 100+ times when I annotate it for people. So hope that you didn't talk too much. That's my advice if you plan to annotate for people, right? But anywho, this is a single mom and a billionaire again. Yes, I have a type. It's a thing. But in this one, she's actually a widow. She has 3 sons, and her company's in trouble. And Tristan Miles is supposed to be taking it over. I said I wasn't going to talk about what all the books are about. I'm sorry. But this was my favorite book in 2020. And they're actually, this is, like, TD's books have been picked up by a publisher. And so, which they already were with a publisher. They're with Montlake, but they're getting like re-released, and I'm very excited. The new cover is very beautiful, but there's just something about this story, the way that it handles grief, the way it handles falling in love again, the way it handles with the tedious balance of having had a great love. Like, her first husband was wonderful. He died tragically, and she just never expected to find love again, right? She's going to do right by her kids, take care of her company as best she can, and like that is the life she's gonna live. And then Tristan Miles sweeps in and just turns it all upside down, and now what do we do? You know, now how do we live? Where do we go from here, right? And it's just so fascinating to watch, and like their chemistry is amazing. The sex is hot in here. It's great. But the emotional depth that I was not expecting from this to happen, and the way that every time I go back through this, seeing Tristan not only fall in love with this, you know, beautiful widow who she is, I think like 5 years older than him. It's not like she's super old or whatever, but usually when there's reverse age gap, the woman isn't that much older than the man, because it can get kind of weird if you do. Not that I think those are weird in real life, but in books it can be tough to have people be in the same, like, you know, sexual window and stuff sometimes. But the way that he just falls for all of them, and the way that he so desperately wants to be what they need, but Claire still has to work on the grief that she's feeling. And I thought that that was handled very intelligently. And this is also so funny. Like, this book just makes me laugh so much. And, you know, again, because I'm building my list of essential books, like, you need to have some humor in there too. And another one of these also has some good humor in it. But, like, you gotta have that balance of everything when you're building your essential reading list, right? Okay, now I'm going to throw one in that just has to be here. It does, because I have this book tattooed on my skin, which I will show you now. It's not in a bad place. I'm wearing one shirt today, but I have a quote from this book. And my quote on my underneath the Lovelark is, "I want to set you free." And that is from a book by Sophie Lark called Broken Vow. And this book is a mafia kind of princess. She doesn't like seem like a princess, but she is a part of the mafia. Her family is, and she is also a lawyer, so she handles a lot of the litigious stuff for the mob. But there is someone who's trying to kill her, and she doesn't know whether that is mafia related or it is one of her job related or what it is. But we have Raylan, who is a buddy of one of their like one of their, like, I think it's her in-law, like her brother-in-law's buddy from the, were they in special forces, the army? I don't know what they were, but from the military. And he basically is hired to be her bodyguard. And this book was just so unique to me when I'd read it, because it was her being the grumpy and him being the sunshine. And now I've read a lot of books like that. But when I read this book, you know what, like 4 years ago now, I hadn't read anything like that before. You know, I love Mafia. And I also hadn't read like Mafia mixed with cowboy, because Raylan is from a ranch. And when there keeps being these attempts on her life, Raylan actually takes Riona to that ranch. So we have this not only like city girl, not only mafia girl, but now we have her on a ranch with Raylan, and we meet his family. And we just have her being forced to kind of lighten up for a little bit, you know? She isn't in the trenches of all the mafia drama and the danger of like the city and everything. And I just think it's really cool how this one's handled. And I just love how, like, this one does have a little bit of BDSM in it, and it has that amazing scene where my tattoo comes from, where she's like, "You're trying to control me, you're trying to like force me to be this way or the other," and he's like, "No, I want to set you free, and sometimes to do that you need to give up control to someone else." And I just love how that was handled in here, and that's why I have that tattooed on my skin, right? Okay, we then have Untouchable. Yes, this is one of the special editions. This was so sweet. One of my friends picked this one up for me when she went to Sam Mariano's book signing, or in the Authors in the Bluegrass. So I was so lucky to get a copy of this one. But this is Carter, Mahoney, and Zoe. I absolutely love this couple. This is the dark romance that really changed the game for me. This is set in high school, which not my bag, especially the older I get. But I have this is another one that I've annotated many, many times for people. I have revisited it over and over again, and there's just something really special about it, and how the dynamic works, and how the brain of the heroine works, and how she's trying to figure out the brain of this villain who has swept in and assaulted her and now won't let her out of his clutches. And I just found it to be fascinating and so different from everything I'd read, and it really sent me down this rabbit hole of everything. And so, you know, as dark romances go, this is top tier for me. nothing truly like really beats it for what this one is. Of course, there's Pam Godwin's, but she goes in fully like different ways with her stories. There's just something that I can't ever shake about this. And every time I dip back into it, I think that now will be the time I've moved on from it. And I just haven't. Okay, now we have another couple like lighter ones here. We have Wolf Gone Wild, which this one, so I guess there are 2 on my list that aren't 6 stars. So this isn't a 6-star book. Now, later books in the series are 6 stars, so I could have picked one of those. But Wolf Gone Wild starts it all off. It was the first book I read by Juliet Cross, who is now a dear friend of mine. I just can't believe how her career, well, I can believe how her career has taken off. She's worked her butt off for over a decade, and it's finally happening. But this is the series that I think stole a lot of people's heart. This is paranormal. It's about 6 sisters. It's about Grim Reapers and werewolves and witches, and this one is a witch and a werewolf falling in love, and it is just so fun, and it is family, and it is, all the characters are like over 30, some of them even in like their 40s, but they're still like just so alive and vivacious. And the sisters are all family, so that's not found family because they are blood related, but each of the men that they fall in love with, they give a little bit of family to, and each of those men are kind of lost in their own way, and they get brought into, make this huge, beautiful family, and I just love that about it. And yeah, the Stay a Spell series is just something so, so special, so I highly recommend you give that series a try, but it's definitely on my essential list for sure. Okay, then we have Heartless. This was my favorite read of 2022. This one is a single dad and a nanny. And this is another one that just, it holds up so good. Like, these characters are so alive to me, right? And we have Willa. I think it's Willa. Yeah, I was calling her Willow the other day and I was shaking my head at myself. Willa and Cade, and Willa is this absolutely like wild and free spirit, and Cade is a grumpy single dad who has a lot of weight on his shoulders, and he needs a nanny, and Willa agrees to do it. And when he tries to give her some grief about it and tries to be too like controlling about things, she's like, hey man, I'm not gonna let your kid die. I'm gonna take care of him, and you just need to chill. Like, you just need to chill and trust me to do this, and it's all gonna be okay. And she really forces him to lighten up a little bit, and she loves his son so fiercely. And so when she gives him a hard time, like, you know, it's from a good place. And she also cranks his tractor a little bit, you know, and there's some really hot scenes in here too of her really like reawakening that in him. And he's just this solid, dependable, good man who deserves to have some life and some light in his life. And Willa really brings that. Okay, and then the final one, and this is one that isn't 6 stars as well. This is a 5-star read for me, but it's a book that is just a absolute comfort read for me. Like, so many of these are, and that's why they're essential. They're comforting for whichever subgenre of romance they hit or whatever grand like trope that they do for me. But this book is just comforting because not only is it the coziest apocalypse story I've ever read, but it also led me to my current, like, one of my jobs that I have, which is assisting this author. And this book just means so much to me. And that is Last Light by Claire Kent. This is set in the apocalypse. It's set, I think this one's 4 years after Impact is where it starts off. And this girl is just trying to make her way in the world. She's lost everyone. And she runs into this guy from her small town who he's like, let's travel together. And at first she's like, no, I don't want to. It's not safe to travel with anyone. And then he saves her life pretty quickly after that. And so she's like, well, okay, I guess we can travel together. And their journey begins, right? But I just love this. I mean, it is such a weird it's very hard to fit it in any place. And I know that, you know, Noelle didn't know where this was going to go or how it would fit anywhere, but she gave it a try anyway. And it just created, you know, there's a whole series of these books now, and it led to me finding her books. And now I work for her and I'm an author's assistant for her. So Love at the End of the World, Last Light is definitely one of my essential reads. Absolutely. So there you go, guys. Those are my 10 essential reads. Let me grab them all. And again, I know this isn't my normal hour-long thing about these, but I've talked about all of these books in multiple videos. I've done multiple deep dives on all of them. In fact, I've done deep dives on a lot of the authors that are on this stack here. So I'll link some of those videos. But my time is up. I have to get to an appointment here, but I wanted to get that in the can for you. So thank you so much for watching this video. I'll have links to all of those books down below. And let me know some of your essential reads that you would, I don't know where they're essential to. Like I said, if I had to get rid of every book I own and only keep 10, those would be the 10. So let me know some of those for you. So have a great day, everybody. Bye.